You're listening to the Mermaid Podcast here on WPOD-FM, Mermaid Radio. I'm Gary Guppy, and we hope you enjoy today's program.
Welcome to the Mermaid Podcast, where we dive deep into the magical world of mermaiding and all things aquatic. I'm your host, Sierra Mermaid, and these are my co-hosts, Mer Ashira and the merman whose Fortnite locker rivals his own closet, Merman Nathaniel.
Whether you're a seasoned performer, hobbyist, or curious adventure seeker, this is the place for you. We'll be highlighting our fantastic community and what we're all about, making magic and living out our best mermaid dream.
Today, we'll be diving into our Summer Sunshine episode, so grab your tails and get ready to make a splash. Don't forget to follow us on TikTok and Blue Sky at The Mermaid Podcast, and join the pod on Discord to connect with our community, linked in the description below. If you like what we do, please consider donating to our coffee to help us continue the podcast. Let's dive in.
Hi, and welcome to another wonderful episode of the Mermaid Podcast. I'm Mermaid Nathaniel, and I'm joined here by my two wonderful co-hosts, Mermaid Sierra and Mer Ashira. Guys, what are we going to be talking about today?
We're going to be talking today about mermaiding locales. So that's basically just going to mean, where do we mermaid, how do we mermaid there, and what considerations do we have to take before we mermaid there? We're going to go over everything.
Absolutely everything.
I am very excited for this topic. I'm one of those people who like to do a lot of different places, a lot of different sights and experiences, so I'm really excited to dive into this one.
Yeah, so I have also been fortunate that I've been able to mermaid in a lot of different places. I've mermaided in private pools, public pools, indoor pools, outdoor pools, lakes, rivers, creeks, streams, not the ocean yet, but we're getting there maybe. So I feel like I have a lot of inland experience to kind of draw in on. And also, being a member of the Kentuckiana Mer Pod, I've been doing research, lots of research actually, in creating a document that my pod can use where we can upload all the nearby locations that are available to be mermaided at with all of these considerations in mind. So this is a topic that I'm very passionate about.
Excellent.
Yes, we're twinning there for the most part. The fact that we in upstate New York don't really have a set pod. We've got a few groups here and there, but there's never been an official meetup. So I do love to share all of the spots anyway. It's just a good time all around.
Absolutely. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is pools, mermaiding in pools. So I think a lot of people, when we talk about mermaiding, I think their first thought is probably the ocean, but thanks to a lot of very famous mermaiding influencers, I think the second most common place for people to mermaid is in pools, and that's just because they have become so accessible across the world. They're at fitness centers, they're at schools, they're at community areas. Lots of people have their own private pools at their homes, whether it's an above ground pool or an in-ground pool. It's also, I think, an area that is a little more easygoing to mermaid, because you don't have to have the same considerations of, I don't know, maybe like snakes coming up to you or sharks, but you do have to be cautious of wildlife, and that's not something that you have to worry about in a pool, and you can really focus on just mermaiding a little bit more carefree in pools.
Not to mention, a lot of mermaid meetups and conventions also happen at pools as well.
Well, it's just safer all around. Even with the wildlife aside, there is the currents that come with being in the water. Even a small creek has a little bit of a current in it. So that's a big difference between the pools and any natural body of water, really.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, there is also like that reality that not a lot of pools really allow for tail or even monofin swimming because they see it as a drowning hazard.
This is true.
Not that they're wrong, but it does kind of limit your options if you're in an area where, a lot of pools don't really allow for them.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. If you find a hotel pool or some sort of private fitness center within your smaller community, they may allow it if you just call them and ask.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was gonna say,
Yes.
I think it's super sad that mermaiding safety is so not well known and not considered by people who are maybe inexperienced, that it has become such a taboo thing for public pools to allow, that they're like kind of banning them across different places.
I get very heated about that topic.
I just got really heated.
Because I've had experience where, and it's even with mermaid tails aside, I think that, and I don't blame the children at all, I think adults specifically tend to disregard water safety as a complete whole.
Mm-hmm.
They do not watch their kids by the pool anymore or at the beach. And it's not all parents or guardians, but it is becoming more and more of a general issue. And then you put in these mermaid tails, and then it becomes even more of an issue. I just had this weekend, at the time of recording, I was with a group of people, but I almost injured myself diving into the shallow end of a pool where a child was allowed in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Could not swim, from what I was told after the fact, like at all. And
oh my gosh.
I did not see the parent at all.
It pains me so much when parents just kind of assume that kids can just take care of themselves when it comes to like a pool or anything to that degree. Like, I'm not gonna name names, but my niece has a friend in the family who has a mermaid tail, and she showed me a photo of her in it, and there was no monofin, and it just made me suck in air through my teeth. Like, it was just ugh.
Yeah, that I remember you telling us about that a while ago, because swimming in a mermaid tail without a monofin is basically just tying your legs together and being thrown into the pool. Like, that's something the US Marines do for their training. Not something that a child should be doing for sport.
Absolutely not.
How do we find a pro mermaid pool, and what are the different precautions that we need to take before we start mermaiding in a pool? If you have a private pool, pretty much like it's your pool, you can pretty much do whatever you want in that pool. Obviously do it safely,
By all means.
but you don't have to ask anyone's permission to be a mermaid in your own pool. But you do have to make sure, if it's your pool, like, is it deep enough to be doing tricks and stuff, because you don't want to hit your head on the bottom of the pool. So you have to make sure it's deep enough for whatever activity you're doing. And you do have to make sure that you are not mermaiding alone, because public pools are going to have the added benefit of mostly always having a lifeguard on duty, or at least having someone in the area that could call 911 if things were to go south. Right. Even if you're the best swimmer in the world and you know exactly what you're doing, you don't know that you're not going to have some kind of medical episode while you're in the pool. I'm afraid I'm just going to like pass out or something randomly in the pool. And while you're mermaiding, that would not be a good thing. So you just have to make sure, if you're swimming in your private pool, that you are with someone, or someone knows what you're doing, and that you're not doing anything like diving into a 3-foot deep area of your pool.
Isn't there also like a rental service that exists out there where you can just kind of like what's that one?
Yes.
I've seen Mermaid Serenity, and she's always wearing that brown, I think it's a Merbella tail. I think she's wearing that brown Merbella tail. The silicone version, and she's always like, the ads, oh my god, they're always so good. It's always like, come play mermaids with me in this swimply pool, like and I'm like, I want to do that so bad. I think just being very courteous when it comes to the usage of public pools will go a long way in keeping mermaiding's reputation mostly intact. Because I know the public pool that I mermaid at, it's an indoor facility, they will allow mermaid tails, but we do have to call ahead and rent a lane, and we have to stay within our lane so that we're not posing a risk to anyone swimming in the more open non-lane section, because obviously we don't want to hit any kid in the head with our fin or anything.
Right.
Absolutely. And that's just being part of the solution, not creating more of a problem. So kudos to you guys for sure.
And of course, if you guys don't want to deal with that kind of hassle, there's always the next option, and that's your local beach. Sierra and I, we have met up at least once at our local beach here in upstate New York. Of course, you still gotta be careful and cautious of people around you, but you are just totally free to put your tail on and go nuts with it.
Just like I said, be careful if there is a current,
Yes.
because there is a difference in swimming. I know I'm very confident in my swimming abilities. I swim in the lake all the time, but like if you're even a little bit unsure, just be wary of yourself and your boundaries.
Yeah, I remember when we did it, the water itself was rather rough that
Freezing?
day. Not even freezing, just like really rough. Like the water was really crashing up against the shore.
Oh, yeah,
that
it
day.
was.
So just to clarify,
I was the only one who went in.
So just to clarify for our listeners, you guys are talking about the Great Lakes, right?
Lake Ontario, to be specific.
Right. What difference, if any, do you guys think there is between like a lake beach, like a beach on the Great Lake, and then a beach on the coast?
So specifically, I'm very interested in Lake Ontario.
Well, the smell.
Yes. Salt is the main one for sure. But Lake Ontario specifically is the greatest, the largest of the Great Lakes. So it has one of the bigger currents compared to the other ones. You're more likely to get into a riptide, etc., etc. So it's got a little bit of similarities to a bigger body of water, compared to like an ocean or any sea, but it's not the same at all. There is the saltwater difference versus freshwater to look out for. There's also different wildlife to look out for sure. But all around, as long as you're looking out for the wildlife and you're keeping track of the current and you know what to do if you were to get stuck in a current or stuck in a riptide, and you have a buddy, you should have a buddy specifically.
Always.
Especially when you're in a natural body of water. You should be good, really. It's really just about being confident in your abilities, for sure.
Right. Because I was just thinking, like, while you guys were talking, I was like, there's, like, a lot of differences between lakes and oceans, but I think a lot of the open water safety, like, pillars, I think those overlap a lot between, like, big lakes and the ocean. I really only have experience swimming in, like, ponds. Like, we call them lakes, they're ponds. They're not lakes. They're not like the Great Lakes, you know? But there's not really beaches. Like, usually we're going off of a pier, which presents its own safety issues because then you're going straight into, like, 15 to 20 foot deep water. There's not, like, a shallow end to speak of. When I swim in our local lakes and ponds that are smaller, we're either going off of a boat or we're going off of a dock or a pier. Usually the piers that are meant for swimming will have stairs that you can go up that go down into the water from the dock, and they float a little bit. But we always bring, there's always multiple of us out there, and we always bring floats and things that can help if you're getting tired and maybe you can't swim all the way back across the pond. There's a float you can grab onto and rest for a second.
I think that also just saying pier brings up, there's been a few times where I've gone off of piers and things like that, not in a tail actually, because a lot of the piers within the Great Lakes that I've noticed within my area have a really big problem with seaweed, basically.
Oh.
And I personally would choose not to because I don't want to get a monofin caught in the plants under the water, for
So
sure.
you're talking about plants that are like rooted underwater that you could get tangled in.
Oh, big time.
Okay.
I
pulled up Akron Children's Hospital. It's a little infographic about the do's and don'ts about safety around open water. The first one is do learn how to swim. I think that's very important. And if you're gonna mermaid in open water, do know how to swim in a mermaid tail. I don't think anyone's first experience swimming in a mermaid tail should be in open water.
Agreed.
Do know your limits. Even if you are a great swimmer, everyone still has limits. Even Olympic swimmers have their limits because we're all human. And when human bodies, we can get too tired, too cold, too far, too much sun. We need to know when to give ourselves a break. With that a lot when I'm mermaiding is knowing when to take a break, just because it's such a hassle to put the mermaid tail on and off and on and off when I'm trying to take a break. But it's important to be able to know when to do that so that you can give your body a break.
I agree. I've had one oopsie before, and it was an oopsie big time. It was actually at Mermagic. It was only a little one. Nobody really noticed except for the person that I was right next to. And I was about 10 feet deep, and the whole day before, it was a 7-hour car ride.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not drink any water because I simply did not.
Oh.
I got one of those, like, gnarly leg cramps.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
the really bad ones in your calf.
While you were swimming?
Oh.
Yup.
Oh.
Like 10
Tail
feet.
bail. Oh no.
It's the only time I've ever tail bailed.
You never brought this up with me?
Nope. The girl that I was talking to, she was like, "You good?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I just kind of slipped my tail back on right back in the middle of the pool, which is a pain. And then I just pretended that it didn't happen.
What an oopsie. I'm
Wow.
glad you are
Oopsies.
okay.
Drink water.
It's very scary to
Thank
get
you.
a leg cramp. I know the first time that I swam with my mermaid tail, I totally overdid it. I was just having so much fun, and I was not giving myself a break because I just didn't want it to stop. And so I was swimming and swimming and swimming, and my foot cramped. I was in my fin fun, so it was the Advanced Monofin Pro, which I don't particularly like. It's a good monofin, and we'll dive deep into a later episode on the different types of monofins, and I'll give you my full opinion on the different monofins that I've tried.
Yeah, there is nothing like the monofin cramps. I don't get them as much now that I mainly use the softer ones, like the Fantasy Fin, but I know that pain too well.
Right.
Right.
Oh, you go ahead.
Oh, no, I didn't have anything to say. I was just reading.
Something that I have written down here, wildlife consideration. We kind of briefly mentioned this when I asked you guys what the difference between the Great Lakes and the ocean was. Isn't it, correct me if I'm wrong, in the Great Lakes, there are no predators that are big enough to take people on to eat us?
I've certainly never heard anything like that.
No, but there is one thing in the Great Lakes that it actually went viral for quote unquote biting.
It's the lake
performer,
man.
the sturgeon.
Oh, the sturgeon?
Yeah, the sturgeon.
Yes, we do have the sturgeon, but they don't have teeth. They really don't bother people. Like, that's the closest to a quote unquote danger that you're ever gonna get.
How, like, common are those? Like, have you guys ever seen one? Or are they mostly just, like, out, like, way out?
I've seen them a time or two, but up in, like, the Niagara Falls area. But they are out and about. I've never taken the time to really notice them.
Right. So, between the different options that one can swim in and one can mermaid in, I think it's very important to talk about water cleanliness, because that does have implications for, like, what gear you need to bring and what considerations you need to have if you're diving under the water.
And tail care as
And
well.
tail care. That is incredibly important. Tail care and tail accessory care. So let's talk about pools first. Let's just compare and contrast all of them. Pools.
Well, I say no matter what, give your tail a wash after you go swimming, because whether or not you're dealing with the fresh water, the salt water, or chemicals of any kind, chlorine, they're still going to stick onto any fabric and your skin and hair. So it's worth just washing all around, you and your tail.
I'm looking right here, which I'm on Amazon right now, but I just looked up, because I remember someone in the pod mentioning that when they swim in pools, because every pool is going to have some level of chlorine in it. Even if you're swimming in a saltwater pool, it has less chlorine, but it's still there. And chlorine can damage your tail. It can burn your eyes. First of all, I do not open my eyes in chlorine pools. And it's not that necessarily it'll have permanent injury capabilities unless your pool is like toxically full of chlorine, which it shouldn't be. But it does irritate your eyes if you open your eyes underwater in a chlorine pool. And in a saltwater pool, it irritates your eyes less.
If I ever go underwater in a pool, I feel like I would only ever use goggles. I'm not sure I would be able to withstand the eye pain.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me at all. But I can also say that, like, I have another family member who I'll use her pool as well, and man, that stings. Or I feel like the only thing that stings even more is a public pool.
I would not
both
open
of
my
them
eyes in a
always
public
have.
pool. Oh, you
I'm
have
sicko.
pee in your eyes.
You know, I rinse out my eyes after I swim no matter what. I use the eye drops and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they keep such a high chlorine content, so that there really is no pee.
I'm gonna throw up.
Because it gets just like completely
and-
burnt out by chlorine.
No pee and no Babe Ruth candy bars.
Yes.
Exactly.
So lakes, which I don't know, I'm gonna let you guys speak on the Great Lakes. I'm gonna talk about my little backcountry, southern, well, mid-south. We're not I'm not south enough that we have to worry about alligators. We pretty much just have to worry about snakes. But
Yeehaw.
our ponds and lakes and stuff, I wouldn't say they're not crystal clear, but they're not dirty either. Like, they're not muddy, but they're not clear. There are
Right.
contaminants in the water, in lakes.
In terms of tail care, I can say from experience that sand will absolutely get everywhere.
Vinegar for the zipper.
Really?
Okay.
What does that do?
Yes, it works wonders. When we're at the beach, sand does get in the zipper and then it gets caught, and you can't put it up or down either way.
Wow.
I just pour distilled white vinegar on it and bam, it'll open right up.
Oh, wow. The fact that it would get caught in the zippers. I'm thinking about my finfolk tails and how delicate those zippers are.
The first time I did a beach swim, I didn't know. Got back home and I was so stressed that I was like giving myself a tummy ache. I was looking up, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah. Tail care, I think when I swim in lakes and stuff, I'm not known to, like, soap up and actually wash my tails. I will with, like, distilled vinegar, like you said, but I'll use it to wash my tails, like, dilute it with water and wash my tails to make sure it doesn't smell. But I don't tend to use soap on my tails. I have heard of people, there's, like, chlorine neutralizing soap, which this goes back to the pool, but there's chlorine neutralizing detergents that you can use, and you can hand wash your tail in a bathtub. But I think if I ever swim in like a natural body of fresh water, I pretty much just focus on getting the smaller contaminants out of the tail, because you're gonna have, like, you know, if you're in a lake, you're gonna have like bits of plant matter all up in there, you're gonna have dirt or sand or whatever. So I think I just try to flip my tail inside out and give it a good spray and really get up in the little pockets of the fins, like the tiny tips of the fins where things can get stuck, and in the hems and in the seams. I think that's where things mostly get stuck.
Yeah, and that's for sure, making sure that the tails are clean. Don't dry them in the sun. The colors will fade no matter what, and that just goes for any article of clothing. But also, if you're swimming in any fresh body of water, I would suggest, if you do open your eyes, not to do it very long. I've come up and been like, wow, my vision's very cloudy. I'm uncomfortable with doing this anymore.
The last thing that I want to mention, which we kind of talked about this briefly, but the last thing I want to mention is no matter where you're mermaiding, whether it's a pool where you have a lifeguard staff or some kind of governing body making rules, or a lake or a river or a stream or an ocean, those bodies of water are almost always owned by some kind of public or private entity, whether it be like if it's in a state park or if it's just owned by the state or like some form of government. Like someone is responsible for making sure that people are staying safe in the waterways and that there are rules that are being followed so that the place remains as pristine as possible while we get to interact with them in all these fun ways. So just make sure, no matter where you are, that you're always following the laws and rules and respecting them when you are at a public body of water.
Agreed. Could not agree anymore.
Absolutely.
You're listening to WPOD FM Mermaid Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Mariana Thriller Theater presents Anglerman.
There's simply no way of telling what sorts of unholy creatures will encounter that far down.
An underwater expedition team, trapped in the deepest parts of the ocean, must find their way back to shallow waters before they are caught by the watchful gaze of Anglerman.
We've got to get out of here before that thing catches us.
What sort of thing are we talking about? Witness the horrors of magic and science combined to create the ultimate apex predator, Anglerman.
Wait a minute, where's Laura?
Coming this October to a dive-in theater near you.
Hi, I'm Fish Whittlesey. Right now I'm reporting outside of the historic Hippocampus Theater, where in 1972, a sinking vessel came down and nearly crushed the audience during a performance of Hogfish Wrestlers of Briny Gulch. The actors, not wanting to miss an opportunity, found a way to repurpose the ship for an upcoming play, and it continues to be a staple of the theater's productions to this day. I'll tell you more about it tonight on This Day in Atlantis with Fish Whittlesey on Channel 5.
All right, welcome back. We have MerMandy on the line here. MerMandy is a Tampa Bay-based professional mermaid performer. She just came back from the 2025 International Merlympics in Wolfsburg, Germany. She placed 5th in the 50-meter dynamic sprint and 6th place in individual performance ranking and helped the Team USA win the event's overall gold medal. So first of all, MerMandy, congrats on the gold. What was that moment like for you and the rest of the USA team when the results were announced?
That moment was absolutely mind-blowing. We went in full force, completely dedicated, committed, and we went for the gold. We went to win and have fun, and we accomplished all of it. So when they were announcing the team spots, we certainly did not expect to be called. It was quite a surprise, but also we felt like we earned it, and it was just breathtaking. It took me quite a second to figure out that we actually won. We all kind of looked at each other like, wait, is this happening? Is this really happening? And the next thing I know, we're standing at the podium, all these news cameras, and everybody's clapping and congratulating us, and we're holding the trophy, and it flew by so fast, but it was just one of the most awesome moments of my life.
That's so cool to hear. So for those who might not know, what exactly are the Merlympics? What kind of events did you guys compete in?
The Merlympics have been participating in mermaid competitions for several years in Europe, and they've branched out to worldwide. The USA, this was our second year coming in as a rookie team, and it is an elite mermaid athletic competition for things like speed, rescue, performance, modeling, and some of the competitions that the captions and categories that we participated in were for, say, 50-meter sprint in a mermaid tail, full gear, skin and all, as well as a 25-meter rescue, meaning we would swim out 25 meters, rescue and bring them back 25 meters, speed, time, and performance for that one. We participated in what's called a tail bail rescue, a personal rescue. The Merlympics stands for a lot of safety. Not only that, but fun and inclusivity, but safety first and foremost. And so the tail bail was a little bit of a challenge. We had to swim out 25 meters, detach our tail only by 1 foot, fully exposed 1 foot, and fully tailed and fin another, and freestyle it back. And that was in a situation where a mermaid could not get her tail off and she was performing a rescue. So in honor of that mermaid, it was one of the hardest self-safety maneuvers you can do as a mermaid. Some other captions that we did were modeling underwater. We had a photo shoot underwater where there were cameras and scuba divers and safety divers underwater with 2 different screens going on at the same time. We did personal performances where, kind of similar to, like, let's say figure skating, where you have to hit so many maneuvers or so many moves. We had the same expectations with certain underwater skills and mermaiding, and so you had a up to 4-minute personal synchronized routine, and then we also had a team synchronized routine where we rocked it.
That's good to hear that they focus so much on safety, that you guys are competing in safety. And I think that's really important when it comes to the fact that we're in water, we're doing water sports, and that can be dangerous sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Me as a mermaid instructor, that's one of my first goals, is to establish we're going to be safe and organically fun afterwards.
Yes, absolutely. So speaking about you as a mermaid, can you tell us a little bit about your mermaid origin story? How did you get into mermaiding?
Yeah, I've basically been a mermaid my entire life. I was raised on a lake, on a bed and breakfast resort, and I've lived on or at the water my entire life, spanning from West Michigan to the East Coast and North Carolina, and now I'm down in Tampa Bay, Florida. Have mermaid experiences from a very young age of trying to be a mermaid. I have a memory of taking my breakfast trays, and my friend and I wanted to be a mermaid so bad, and I did not know about the existence of monofins in the water at that time when I was very young. So I have this distinct memory of us duct taping these breakfast trays to our feet. Highly not recommended, please don't do that. And it failed miserably, but it's a funny memory. And now as an adult, my mermaid adventure really surfaced in Tampa, where when I moved here, I did not realize that professional mermaids were real. I thought it was just a Hollywood thing in the movie Splash or something like that, or, of course, The Little Mermaid Ariel. And when I learned about, let's say, Wiki Wachi or some of these performers like Mermaid L, I dove in head first. I went and sought out a scuba shop, actually 2 of them, and said, how in the world do I do this? I want to do this. And I took to it like a natural. I was a very easy student. And when I started to learn how to mermaid at the advanced levels very quickly, I've been a swimmer my entire life, so it was just natural. I have great buoyancy control underwater. I've been a free diver my entire life, as well as snorkel. And I also took to scuba at the same time. My children, I have 4 children. I have 2 daughters and 2 sons. And my 2 daughters, ages 12 and 13, wanted to mermaid really bad. At the time, they were a little bit younger. And I thought, okay, well, if I've learned the skills, you can learn them too. But as a parent, I started having phantom dreams of being at the beach and hearing a mother's cry and seeing out in the water her daughter or son in a mermaid tail face down in the water. It was one of my biggest fears for my children to not know the appropriate skills for mermaiding. So I decided to become a professional mermaid instructor to kind of bridge the gap for parents to understand that this isn't just something that you can buy for your children and expect them to know how to quote unquote play mermaid. This is something that could be very dangerous, and you should go through the appropriate channels to get your children certified. So I went into professional mermaiding to kind of bridge this gap, and it's ironic because I thought here in Tampa Bay area and with my marketing that most of my clientele would be, younger children, but ironically my average client and mermaid student is in their 40s. So I'm very busy. I'm one of Tampa Bay's #1 mermaid instructors at mermandy.com, and I love what I do. I have been known to show my passion, and people have so much fun. They say that they can feel my enthusiasm through my teaching skills. And so then my mermaid transformation from becoming a professional mermaid, hobbyist, professional instructor, to now mermaid athlete and gold-winning mermaid Olympian, I found the Merlympics kind of just sporadically online. The algorithm will kind of expose you to certain things once you start clicking around online. And I found out that there was this thing called Mermaid Olympics, Merlympics. And myself, I'm a retired roller derby athlete at the national competitive level. I'm an ex-retired personal trainer. I still quad roller skate long distance marathons. And so I've got a little bit of an athletic edge. So this thing called the Merlympics at the time was just amazing. I thought, oh my gosh, this is just right up my tidal wave. I love it. And I jumped right in. I sent my resume, my videos, I applied and got on the team, and I'm now the 5th fastest mermaid in the world.
Wow, that is so inspiring. I love especially how you mentioned that your fears for the safety of your children led you to try to bridge a gap in the mermaid community for parents and kids wanting to learn how to mermaid. But then it's also funny that you said that your clientele tends to be in their 40s. So that really does just prove that mermaiding is for everybody, no matter what your age or your background.
Mm-hmm. I've had clientele, I think the eldest student I had was 72.
Wow. That's awesome. All right, so in preparation for the Merlympics, what does a typical training session look like for you and or the team leading up to the events?
That is such a great question. For me personally, because I have such an athletic background, my personal training aspect, I know the science and the skill set it takes to train for certain things. I have never competitively swam in any sort of swimming entities. So this was something that I had to initially start with a lot of research. I wanted to make sure that I had the education behind the skills that I would be competing in. So I watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to appropriately swim with form. For instance, breaststroke, freestyle. I wanted to make sure that I was the most efficient in the water, as well as gear. I wanted to make sure that I had the appropriate gear for my body set, for my comfort level, as well as my budget. And so initially from the start, my training was on land, and I started with endurance, and then it kind of evolved obviously into the water. And a typical training day for me could span anywhere from 45 minutes to 3 to 4 hours. And what that would look like is, on the short level, 45 minutes is a pretty intense training session where I am doing speed drills. It's burning a lot of calories. I start off with my warm-ups in the water, generally a freestyle, probably not in fin, where I'm pushing 25 to 50 meters back and forth, and I'll start off slow, 25 meters, go back to the wall, and the different skill sets that I'll have mapped out prior to. Every time I went into a training session, I would have a goal. For instance, sometimes it would be a speed goal. Today I want to shed 1 second off of my time, or a millisecond or something. Another time it would be, I want to add 5 seconds onto my breath hold. I want to go farther, stronger. Or in fact, some days I would just have the goal, I want to leave here with my legs wobbling. And so the intensity of my training seminar would just depict on what exactly I was doing, as well as the length of time. When I say I would have a 3 to 4 hour session, I would plan appropriately. The reason those sessions would be so long is where I would be memorizing, let's say, my synchronized swim, and it takes time and time again repetitive motions. And so my personal training seminars went from initially making it on the team to just getting used to competitively swimming and what it took to have proper form, to just a few days before the competition, to pushing my levels to be able to perform at the Merlympics level, to be able to take home a gold medal or perform at the top levels where I didn't have to think what I was doing. Once that whistle blew, I was taking off. And I had a lot of help along the way. My daughter, Mermaid Ella, actually was in the junior captions for the National Mermaid competition, and so she actually naturally just kind of turned into one of my coaches. And then several friends who would join me at my practices to take my timing. I would ask lifeguards to do my time, as well as kind of help me because they would compete too. So it was a whole team collaboration to get me to where I needed to be. Now at the team level, it was really fun. We are from all over the country: Mississippi, Utah, Indiana, Alabama, Florida, and Oregon. And so for us to be able to perform as a team in a synchronized 5-minute routine, we initially had to rely on our captain as well as our co-captain very heavily on how to watch the videos that they wanted us to learn and ask lots of questions. We had quite a few meetings as a team behind the scenes. And then in February, Team USA came to Tampa. It was inevitably voted. Tampa was the warmest in February, although we do have a winter here. They stayed at my house. I hosted them for a weekend where we got to have team bonding, which in a competitive sport is extremely important if you're going to have a team event, or even, for instance, just being Team USA. So this was invaluable for us to be able to bond, get to know each other, and be able to support each other. And then we took to the pool, and we had actually, I think it was a 6-hour practice where we jammed out our synchronized team performance. And it was learn one set of skill, learn one 30-second block, do it again, now add another 30 seconds, do it again, add another 30 seconds. And before you know it, we had a 5-minute routine. And it was a little choppy at first. I think me being the eldest kind of played into my brain overworked and I asked the most questions, but the team appreciated it because some of them needed to be asked. And then when we got to Germany, Wolfsburg, Germany, we went to the pool. We got there. We were one of the earliest teams, aside from Germany being local, to arrive, and we took straight to the pool within a day once we were all there, and we jammed it out for hours, just whether it be in the shallows, doing our routine in the rain. And so that's pretty much what training looked like, at least from my perspective.
Wow, that's so much work.
It was a lot of work. I was very dedicated. We as Team USA were very dedicated. We would check in almost daily the closer it got to the Merlympics event and talk about, where are your goals for this week? Sometimes I would practice, I would say 4 to 6 days a week, up to 9 practices a week. Sometimes I would go 2 times a day.
Wow. I'm exhausted after listening to all that. But kudos to you and the rest of Team USA for going through that and just working really hard, because it clearly paid off.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
So that leads me into my next question. How does performing as a solo mermaid differ from being part of a team routine?
Yes, there's quite a big difference. When you solo perform, you're in a selfish environment. You're only worrying about yourself and thinking about what your routine is, what your music is, what you are doing. And sometimes in practice, even in training, that can play against you because we'll get in our own head, we'll play against us and doubt ourselves. So you really have to separate your own head into being your own coach. Sometimes having a personal performance can be more difficult than having a team because that support structure is just on yourself. So you have to remember to stay positive, stay focused, and to organize your practices in a productive way progressively where you can memorize your performance to not forget it. I'm also a stage performer. I've been an actress. I'm a vocalist. And even in memorizing a song, you have to do this over and over and over. And however well somebody memorizes something, for me personally, it's in chunks at the very beginning of that performance. And then I perform that a small amount, and then I add more. I'll perform a small amount, add more, and do it over and over and over again. I felt very empowered when I would perform in the water in front of, let's say, at my pool, there were other swim teams that would come of all ages. And so here I would be in a section of the pool performing and they would be watching. And so it was another level of pressure to, hey, this better look good. Not only do you have that personal mindset, also the pressure of don't mess up because you don't want to be that team member who is the one that messes up. And that, me personally, I put a lot of pressure on myself for that. I think it's because I've been on teams before and probably messed up a lot. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that I was a strong participant within the team routine. And so when you're practicing as a group, there's a lot of mindset where you can look left and right and make sure that your teammate is right next to you or in front of you or wherever they're supposed to be in the choreography. There's also a lot of questions and working together collaboratively. You get a lot of feedback that when you're doing your solo routine, you kind of get, I mean, unless you have a coach or somebody else with you, but it's mostly yourself. With a team, there's a lot more support from individuals, not just yourself. So it makes it kind of more fun for me personally because I love being in a team setting. I love working with other people, and the people on Team USA, the mermaids on Team USA, I couldn't have asked for a better team. Everybody was so kind and we were all supportive, and even from the first second that we met, it was as if we always knew each other. And there's definitely a lifelong kinship within this first Team USA for me, and the friendships that we made really showed in the way that we performed. We had a very difficult routine. We had a very strong routine, and we had one of the biggest crowds to watch us. And in my personal opinion, I feel like we performed the best in that competition.
That's honestly so sweet how you guys have gotten along so well, and even though you just had met each other, that's really inspiring to hear.
Yeah, it was really
So
special.
speaking of the team, was there a moment in the competition that really stood out to you?
I would say the moment in the competition that stood out the most, aside from each performance, each initial, like, hold my breath, the whistle is about to blow, and obviously winning. That takes the top of the pyramid right there.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the most initial memories that I have is when we first got there on the day of competition. We were wonderfully sponsored by Artful Dwellings with matching leggings, as well as other sponsors. But because we were matching, we looked the part, we stayed together, we were very tight-knit. And when we arrived, we were treated like gold from the get-go. Mermaids from all around the world were pushing through the crowd to say hi to Team USA. We were definitely a crowd favorite from the second we got out of our car to walking up to the door. People knew and were saying, that's Team USA. And I had a couple of moments where mermaids from other teams, even a mermaid who wasn't even performing at the Merlympics, she just came to watch. She drove from Poland to Germany to watch the performances and watch the competition, plowed through the crowd just to come up and meet me, say hi, obviously get a picture, get a hug, and said, "You're MerMandy, I've been following and I came just to watch you." And that to me was one of the moments that just stands out, because we felt so welcomed, so special. People knew that we were coming from the USA, where there are certain things in our country that are a little tough right now. So for us to show up as a team, and we were so tight knit, and it just, I mean, it was amazing. It was mermazing.
That's awesome. All right.
That was
Switching gears a little bit, as an openly LGBTQ plus mermaid, how does your identity influence your connection to the mermaid community, and have you found the mermaid community to be a welcoming space for queer folks?
I'm so excited that you asked this, because I don't get asked that a lot, and I've had a couple of interviews that this has been brought up. And as a lesbian mermaid, it does kind of play in effect initially with my name. I am MerMandy, and that's spelled capital M, lowercase er, capital M-A-N-D-Y. And when I created my name, I have had in the past other competitive levels where, let's say, for instance, in roller derby, I was a different name. And when I would compete, you almost get like split brain personality, where I would be so dedicated and so inundated in the game, and in front of the fans, I'm always a fan crowd favorite. The photographers love me because I, will obviously go for the camera. When I retired roller derby, because I had too many breaks, I have 2 wrists held together by metal and an ankle, and recovered fully, but it was very hard for me to let go of that character. So when I started mermaiding, I wanted to be an authentic self mermaid. I didn't want to have an alter ego where that separation occurred. I wanted to just be authentically myself, which obviously in the LGBTQ community meant showing a part of me, or just being myself, not having to separate or even create a different mermaid personality. And so even with my name, MerMandy, I have been asked, let's say on Instagram, how I transitioned. And I am a she, her, and I am a female and born female. But my name, MerMandy, could also be looked as merman. Mm-hmm. And so I have been asked several times, is it Mandy or is it merman? And I said, well, the reason there's a capital M for Mandy is because my name is Mandy. And so, but I have a cousin who is transgender. I have many family members in the LGBTQ community. I have dated transgender. And so when I created my name, I wanted it to be fluid. And so whether it be merman or mermandy, it doesn't matter. I'm just a mermaid.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, and to answer your question with inclusivity or for the mermaid, I am also the admin for the Tampa Mermaid Pod. And one of the things that I instill in the community of this pod and myself when I go to events is there's no politics in mermaiding. There's no separation. There's no reasoning for anything other than mermaiding. So I personally have not had any issues with being a lesbian. It actually kind of just never really comes up, because in my atmosphere, we're all mermaids, and that's all that matters. So it doesn't matter who you are, what gender, what anything, mermaids are mermaids, and we should all recognize that as equality, and we should all recognize that as being part of this mermazing community together.
Yes, that is absolutely true. What advice would you give to young queer mermaids or anyone else who wants to start in the mermaid community but isn't sure they would fit in?
My first advice would be to seek out their local mermaid pod or certifying instructors. If they're looking for a community where they want to feel included and know kind of the background, my first advice would be to seek out your locals, find out where they're meeting, find out what they do, and talk to some of them. Find out if, one, if there were any issues in the past, which hopefully there's not, but maybe do a mermeet where they get together, or even meet someone for lunch, or even just a phone call, just to get the background on your local entity and to get started. And from there, I feel like organically it should just take off.
All right. Okay. That's great advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
What is next for you? Do you have any upcoming performances, projects, goals you're excited about?
I am. Thank you for having me. It's been quite an honor. So for my future self right now, I am taking a break, a well-earned break from the mermaid athletic portion of mermaiding. So shifting gears, my entire professional mermaid existence is based off of teaching. I am a mermaid instructor, and I love teaching new and upcoming MERS how to perform and create their skill set and authentically be their true to self mermaid, whether it be performing or wanting to go to the level of an instructor or even just a hobbyist. And that's really my passion. My favorite thing is to really watch MERS get it. When all of a sudden I'm teaching in the water and they take off in their dolphin kick and they come back and that gleam in their eyes, like I just made their lifelong dream come true, because I did. And that is my favorite part. So now that it's summer, my focus is to really dive in and work with my mermaid schools. I personally teach mermaid classes through Patty, as well as I am a mermaid instructor through one of my local scuba shops, Adventure Outfitters, here in Tampa. And so I have a couple of mermaid camps coming up, mermaid schools, but I perform my best as a mermaid instructor on the one-on-one level. I do custom and personal training sessions for people where they get a one-on-one with me. They get that personal touch. I focus on safety first, as well as breathing techniques, and then we take off into the mermaid world. So what looks like the future for me initially right now is to focus on teaching our mermaid community how to be safe and have fun. And then from there, my long-term goal is to jump back into the Merlympics. I'm hoping to make it on Team USA. It won't be for another 2 more years. Maybe joining some of our national competitions. I know that Chicago Swim Team hosts one, and possibly there's a few in California. So I'll be branching out. I'll be diving back into the mermaid athletic, just taking a little bit of a break for my body to recover.
A very well-deserved break.
Thank
All right.
you.
How can people follow your journey or support what you're doing? Any socials?
They can. I'm a little OG. I don't do the TikTok, but I do have Instagram and Facebook. You can follow me at MerMandy 2023. It's MERMandy 2023. You can also follow me and check out my website, mermandy.com. There will be all of my events or things that I'm doing, including some of my class schedules on there as well.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much again for interviewing with us and being a guest on our podcast. It has been an honor for us to interview you and have you on here to share your story. It's going to be great for our listeners to be able to hear all this.
Thank you. I hope I've inspired some, and if anybody has any questions, by all means, please reach out. I'd love to have a chat.
All right.
You're listening to WPOD FM Mermaid Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Has constipation got you down? Then you need to try... Oh, dear Poseidon. Are you all right?
No.
Oh, dearie me. This is... I think we need to cancel this commercial. This guy clearly needs to go to a hospital.
Please. Hey, what's up? It's me, Belongo. You guys like, card games? I got some, I think. So come on over to, Belongo's Ballroom. We got, bingo. We got Go Fish. We got, a lot of stuff the kids are playing. Check out these reviews.
That place had such a weird smell.
Oh, Belongo? I think that guy stole some of my Atlantic Joe coupons.
I have no idea who Blungo is. Please stop following me.
Come on over, have some fun. Or don't. I don't really care. Just come pay me money.
Man, they just let anyone on air these days. Like, what was that?
Ash, we're
I
back
don't
on
know.
the air.
Oh, my bad. All right, it's time for Community Corner. We want to first thank Palm Paws for doing our cover art for our episode. It looks fantastic, and we are so appreciative of their talents. They are a self-taught artist, and they identify themselves as a thalassophile, a mermaid enthusiast. Their works range from fan art to self-made works and the occasional commission. So you can check them out at PomPaws, POMMEPAWS.bluesky.social if you want to check them out on their social media.
All right. And on the Discord side of things, we've got our usual events. We've got Chico's art stream every Monday and my game streams every Friday, where I try to show off a cool, new, unique, interesting game for everybody to watch.
I also want to thank Bray North for lending his voice in our Anglerman commercial as the scientist, as well as in our Blungo's Ballroom commercial as one of the reviewers. Paul Belfuel also lent his voice graciously as Fish Whittlesey and a reviewer in Bungalows Ballroom. If you are interested in playing a part in voice acting some of our commercials, keep an eye on our social media because we are working on a way to open that up to folks who want to participate. And finally, a huge thank you to MerMandy for dealing with a lot of crazy scheduling conflicts and appearing as a guest on the second half of this episode. She is an absolute treasure, and it was truly a joy interviewing her, and I hope we get to see more of her on this podcast. Definitely go give her a follow on Instagram and Facebook if you haven't already. All right, and with that, we will see you guys next month. Thank you so much for listening. Happy splashing!
Thank you for joining us on this month's episode of the Mermaid Podcast.
Tune in next month to learn what goes into being a business-savvy mer.
And as always, don't forget to get on your shell phones and follow us on TikTok and Blue Sky at the Mermaid Podcast. And join our wonderful Discord community. Happy splashing!
We'd like to thank our coffee donors that have made this month's episode possible. Isla and Elizabeth, thank you.
If you enjoyed this month's episode and want to hear more from us, consider donating to our coffee, linked in the description. Every amount counts and helps pay for our recording software and maintenance fees. Without our coffee donors, we couldn't do what we do. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
This has been the Mermaid Podcast here on WPOD FM, Mermaid Radio. I'm Gary Guppy, and we hope to catch you all next time.